Live on Live Now from Fox this Tuesday, legal analyst and trial attorney Jeremy Rosenthal. Jeremy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gina.
Doug, pinpointing some of the highlights that many of the viewers are wanting to discuss. I want to first start with this. Fox News sharing this on X, saying, quote, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this." Tyler Robinson allegedly confessing to killing Charlie Kirk in a Discord group chat 2 hours before he was taken into custody. That coming from that Washington Post release from a newly released report. A lot to break down, Jeremy. This is new information we are learning this Tuesday. Many people saying this is an online confession. Set the stage for us.
I think so. And I think that what's happening here is that I didn't do it or it wasn't me is becoming less and less and less of a defense, frankly, by the hour. Right now, it seems like the state of Utah is going to be seeking the death penalty against him. The question, I think, is whether or not the federal government, whether the Department of Justice is going to similarly weigh in, whether they're also going to pursue the death penalty against Tyler Robinson. I think there's some challenges to that. So this confession kind of talks about it. And if you compare it to, say, Luigi Mangione, and when we talk in the context of federal charges, a lot of the impetus to charge Luigi Mangione is that he was trying to incite something bigger than just himself. His manifesto clearly stated that he wanted there to be sort of a popular uprising, if you will, against the insurance industry. I think what the feds are really, really looking for and what they're really honing in on is how much of what Tyler Robinson says is focused at a greater movement, something bigger than himself. Right now, we know that he was somewhat perhaps obsessed with Charlie Kirk, that he said a lot of negative things about Charlie Kirk. And I think the feds are looking to see if there is something a little more broad about what he did. Another, I think, an important distinction or an important comparison, again, with Luigi Mangione, only because I think legally and factually the cases from a legal standpoint and a trial standpoint are really kind of in many ways parallel. Another issue that the feds have is that you're also looking for some type of interstate commerce. You're looking for carrying weapons over state lines. You're looking for planning in activity in different states. You had that in Luigi Mangione's case on the East Coast, where you wake up one morning and you get your donuts in one state and then you go to work in a third state. With Tyler Robinson, everything so far appears to be in Utah. So a lot of these statements are sort of walling him in slowly but surely. The big question is whether or not the federal government has a trigger to get involved.
Jeremy, thank you so much for that breakdown. With this case, the term hate crime keeps circulating. I'm sure you're familiar with that term. I bring that up. I want to share the latest from congressional reporter Cami Mundo. She put this out on X. It says, quote, from earlier this morning, FBI Director Kash Patel says they were able to obtain text messages from the suspect ahead of the shooting, including an exchange in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and he was going to do it because of his, quote, hatred for what Charlie stood for, end quote. How does this relate to hate crimes? We've also heard that term you've mentioned before, premeditated.
Absolutely, I think premeditated. I don't think there's any question about that. And look, you don't wake up one morning and just decide to go pitch yourself on the top of the roof, spend 3 minutes planning it, and then run away from it. This was very, very highly orchestrated, and not only that, it was carried out to the T. And in the year 2025, it is very hard for somebody like this to evade escape for a full day, because you're talking about being in not only an area where there's 3,000 other people. The government has at its disposal today so many more law enforcement tools than they've ever had before. Not only is there surveillance camera, not only is there eyewitness testimony, you're talking about geofence warrants where you can tell what cell phones are in a location. You're also talking about what are called license plate readers, which have a great degree of memory and can really sort of tell you who's in what area and where they are and where people are moving and what cars are in the vicinity. So a lot of these things, again, are really kind of narrowing him in. When we talk about a hate crime, typically a hate crime is defined as attacking somebody for their characteristics, something that they were born with. It could be an ethnicity, it could be a religion, it could be gender, it could be something like that. And in this instance, his ideology, it's a little trickier to sort of argue that that's a hate crime. Potentially, if it's based on religion, and we know Charlie Kirk was very vocal and very ardent spokesman for his religion. If you can maybe link it to that, then you might become closer to making it a hate crime. But other than that, it's really sort of legally hard to get there.
Yeah, Jeremy, with this case, I know evidence will be very high priority. The latest from FBI Director Kash Patel, courtesy of Rapid Response 47 on X, they put out that Kash Patel says, quote, "I can report that the DNA from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody." Of course, there are a lot of eyes on, okay, what about the actual firearm? And we did know that Kash Patel says that was sent to forensics for that DNA analysis. But how important is the evidence for this case?
A lot of very small and incremental things that are really walling him in and are really sort of preventing that kind of a defense. Now, if you're defending this case, what you're looking at is several things, because again, I didn't do it is looking less and less like a really good defense. So in this instance, some of the things that you're looking for if you're defending the case would be the legality of some of these searches, the legality of some of the geofence warrants, or the DNA testing. Now, if your DNA is on a towel that you left on the top of a roof or by a firearm, then you're sort of out of luck in being able to contest that. You can try to contest the validity of the DNA warrant, even if the legality of it is perfectly fine. There's sometimes you can make arguments about DNA and things like that. So all of these things are very, they slowly but surely really sort of wall him in. The big fight in this case is going to be the death penalty. And in Utah, the death penalty the offense is called aggravated murder. And when you're talking about the death penalty, you're talking about a murder plus one, plus some other aggravating factor. In a lot of instances, it could be that there's multiple victims. It could be that it's a police officer that was the victim or a child under a certain age. Here, the state of Utah, the most likely theory that I think they're going to use under Utah law is that additional lives were endangered through these actions. He's shooting a man with a crowd of 3,000 people watching. We all saw the mad scramble and the mad dash and the panic that ensued. Certainly very possible, if not likely, that somebody else was hurt or even killed in that instance. That's what would make it aggravated. But the government and the state of Utah would still have to prove that Tyler Robinson is a continuing threat and danger, because that's generally the standard for the death penalty. That's where the real fight of this case is going to be, and a lot of that is because of all of this sort of incremental evidence, the DNA. I'm told that they were able to scan the arm print in the rooftop, which is something that I've never heard or seen of before, but apparently that can be done as well to match his arm. So I think they're going to definitely be able to prove that it was him. The question is can they get to that continuing danger?
Trial attorney and legal analyst Jeremy Rosenthal, thank you so much for setting the stage for this anticipated event today. A lot of eyes on what will happen inside of the courtroom, as many people hope that the suspect is brought to justice for what he allegedly did, assassinating Charlie Kirk. Thank you so much for the detailed breakdown. Have a great rest of your day.
You too, Gina.